What's up, guys? It's Weezy here, and welcome to episode 5 of the Founder Academy. I just want to start off by thanking everyone for all the support on the early videos. You guys have been wonderful, and I appreciate everyone who's subscribed to the channel and has watched all the videos so far. What I really want to do is get this channel going so we can head into FIFA 18 once that launches with a lot of momentum. So there's still a lot of gameplay still left with FIFA 17, so as we get into this, for those of you that maybe have not caught the earlier episodes or just forgot because it's been a little while because I've been busy with work and also Team of the Season, we are in Division 9, so I believe we have 6 points. So all we have to do is get 2 wins and a draw, and we can get out of Division 9. So our first opponent here comes up with a very, I don't want to call it a sweaty EPL team, but one of the very better teams that we've seen actually in terms of them being put together. So when I see Ahmed Musa and Loic Remy considering the team that we have, I was a little worried. This guy clearly knew what he was doing. He knew how to get key players in key positions. So, you know, these are always guys that you should be worried about coming up against in division. So as you'll see, this guy really knew what he was doing. So you could tell that he'd played a lot of FIFA before. Maybe not necessarily an Ultimate Team because his team wasn't necessarily where you'd expect a team to be this late in the year, but maybe he's like me and decided to start a second account. Maybe he just played a lot of single online games, or maybe he played the FIFA Interactive World Cup mode, like who knows, maybe not necessarily an Ultimate Team player, new to Ultimate Team, but he was clearly a very good player. He defended very well. You can usually tell within the first 20-30 minutes, as I'm traditionally a slow starter. I like to have a bit of a feeling out process. You can tell really early on whether a guy's going to be a tough opponent. This guy was very tough because he wasn't putting his players in positions where he was drawing them out of position. He was keeping formation very well, and that's really important, especially in the early parts or in the later parts of divisions, is you're going to come up against a lot of guys that are trying to draw you out. So playing players in their position and making sure that you're keeping shape is very important. So I want to talk a little bit about formations. This guy was using a 4-1-2-1-2 wide. I don't necessarily love the 4-1-2-1-2 wides. I don't play a lot of wide formations because they are not really conducive to my playing style. I like to kind of pack the middle of the field, and you know, playing a 4-1-2-1-2 narrow, if I'm playing against another 4-1-2-1-2 narrow, it definitely is one of the more challenging opponents for me to play because it will clog the midfield. You're not going to get a lot of scoring chances. But I felt kind of pretty comfortable against this guy in terms of his formation, but he used it very well. You know, if you're going to use a formation that's wide, you definitely need to spread the field, and he did do that. He does get the opening goal here, a little sweaty, putting it off of Kasper Schmeichel. Schmeichel's been very good, so I can't really complain, but, you know, those types of goals are going to happen against any keeper. You could have Team of the Season De Gea or Team of the Year Neuer, and they're still going to parry shots like that. So not to take anything away from him, he was very, very good opponent and he deserved that goal, but we get right back into the game here with a finish from Berahino. I was pretty surprised by that. You never really know what you're going to get with some of these lower rated guys. Sometimes they'll miss wide open opportunities and other times they'll hammer shots in like that. I basically think that that's what you're going to get with some of these low rated cards. It's just the inconsistency, but you know, he has been a very cheap purchase for us, and he's a good card to have considering the price point, as we basically are going to use him as a reserve player, a sub player when my other guys get tired. But as we head into the end of the game here, Ahmed Musa, he hit me on a counterattack. It was my fault for pressing so high, and you know, in my other video I talked about 45th and 90th minute cheese, and I'm not going to blame it on that. I basically was just caught forward, and he did hit me on the counterattack, and we do take our first L of the series. So a little upset that it happened a little earlier, and I was hoping to at least get to Division 7 or 6 before we took an L, but this guy was a good opponent. You know, even players that play in Division 1 or Division 2, they do have to come through the ranks. So if this guy's either relegated himself, or if he's just starting a second account, or if he's just starting Ultimate Team and he's a good player, you're still going to have to come up against these guys every once in a while. And even though he wasn't the best player in the world, he was a very good player, and as you can see, you know, things like team fitness or player fitness has caught up to us. So Lukaku was on 68 fitness, and we didn't have a lot of fitness cards, so certain things like that, they just end up kind of creeping up on you. So you do have to stay on top of your team management, because as you saw in the last game, you know, you are going to get hit on counters and stuff like that late in the game, and if your players don't have those fitness levels, you could take L's because of it. So that's not necessarily how I want to play, because I don't want to be losing games like that. But you know, when you're a bit of a beggar, beggars can't be choosers. So we do take our first L, so we still do need the 2 wins and the draw in order to get out of it. But we do pick up that Hull right back from Norway, and he does make us a full goal team. As we head into the second game here, this guy had a very strange team. A lot of players out of position. He had Juan Mata as the center back, which is, I don't even know what to say about that. I'm sure he was just doing that for chemistry purposes, but possibly the worst possible person you could have as a center back. Small, very poor defensively. I think he's like 40-something defense, if not worse than that. But, you know, I don't know if he just didn't know what he was doing. But, you know, he had Levin Kurzawa and Ousmane Dembele. And I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that those are untradables. But, you know, as I've said before in the past, if you have these guys as tradable cards, just trade them. You can always pick them up later when you're actually building a Liga team or a Bundesliga team in those cases. But to have them sitting in your club and building a team that has those guys and killing your chemistry is really hurting you, because your players are just going to take dumb touches. They're going to be really far off chem. And even on one link, like Levin Kurzawa is like a left back playing right back with a 1 weak link. So I would assume that he's probably 5 chem on that, you know, in that position. So really not a very wise move on this guy's part. But you know, it is Ultimate Team. I'll talk about my thoughts on the chemistry rebuild and my idea behind it in the next video. I do have some upcoming gameplay videos that I've got kind of in the can, so I'll talk about one of those in one of the future videos. But in this game, this guy definitely wasn't using the current chemistry system to his advantage. He did hit me on the break there a little bit as he kind of came through the middle. Just poor defending on my part. It was really his only attack, as you guys saw earlier in the game. I was really just kind of peppering him. He wasn't offering too much offensively, but he did come up the middle and just powered a shot past Kasper Schmeichel. You know, that happens even when you're playing some weak opponents. You're going to have mental lapses. It is a 90-minute game, and you are going to have times where you do make mistakes. So it happens to everybody. You are going to take losses to some guys that you don't deserve. But, you know, this guy didn't really offer too much offensively. So what I did was, I believe I just went offensive and just try to push him back and get him outside his comfort zone. What you don't want to do against weaker opponents is let them get into a bit of a groove, because the later the game goes, the more it's up in the air. And as you guys know, this is FIFA. It can go either way. So you don't want to let yourself get in a position where you're letting the game determine how the result goes. So pushing a guy back into his own end and forcing him to cause turnovers from his own defenders is a really, really important part of you know, getting to be a better FIFA player. You have to identify when to go into attack and when to go into defensive mode, and this guy was definitely in one of those positions where I felt comfortable going into attack. So as you can see, we just basically was blistering the shots, just really peppering his goalkeeper. He did have Jack Butland in goal, but you know, the rest of his team with that one match in his center back position. I don't know if he ended up removing him out of there, but he wasn't really offering too much defensively. And we do get the second goal, Ross Barkley. And at this point, I was feeling a lot more comfortable. I was just pinging the ball around. You know, 1-2s, he was diving in position, diving and putting himself out of position, and it was just much easier for us to just pass around him. So Emre Can gets the third goal, and at this point, I'm just cruising. Just wanted to rack up the goal tallies for these guys. What I want to do with this team now is, if we can win Division 9, use those 3,000 points, just really start building a lot more of the subs. I need to get another center midfielder to add into the rotation, and I do want to get another center back, and I want to get another striker, because our strikers are getting a little limited, especially with Romelu Lukaku. I'm not necessarily a massive Romelu Lukaku fan, which I mentioned in a previous video, but you know, he has been good as a lone player, as you can tell by these types of goals. You know, he goes and scores. Actually, Iheanacho, but Romelu Lukaku hasn't really been that consistent. He's not necessarily that agile, at least his regular card. If you have the Player of the Month or his Team of the Season card, which is obviously very expensive. But if you have one of those cards, he's a little bit different because he's a lot faster. But I find his regular card to be a little bit overrated. especially as I've used him on my other account. He was very, very inconsistent. I have him as an untradeable on my other account, and he was just, I play him in these games, and he just couldn't handle it. He couldn't play up to the quality that you're getting when you're playing in Division 1, Division 2, some of the daily knockout tournaments and whatnot. Which brings me to my next point. I wanted to talk about the daily knockout tournaments. A lot of people are obsessed right now with the fact that because there is Team of the Season, they want to win these cards. The first one was the most consistent team, and they had a Team of the Season Rudy card and then a Team of the Season Sigurdsson card. Now, my issue with the daily knockout tournaments is that I would like them to be separate from these special tournaments, because the daily knockout tournaments right now are essentially for players that want to get into Weekend League. If you're a player that can't qualify for Weekend League, you have to play against the best players in the world, because they're all coming into this daily knockout tournament that they probably usually not play. And you're coming up against some real beast players. So if you're a guy who can barely qualify or can't qualify, and this is your only opportunity to, you're probably not going to, because that tournament is very sweaty. To give you guys some perspective, on my other account where I have paid team and I've got a really jacked up team, for the Sigurdsson card, the Monday and Tuesday had requirements where you could only have one special card. And that one special card, I believe I used Team of the Season Aguero, and then the rest of the team was just non-informs. It had like non-informed Rooney, non-informed Yaya Toure. Can't remember who else I used, but it was a BPL team that was very well balanced. It had Chris Smalling and all these guys that you'd see in a lot of these teams. Emre Can. I think I used Jack Butlin, and I played it 8 times with that team and couldn't win. Now, is that conducive of or reflective of like how I am as a player? Maybe, but I consider myself an above average FIFA player, and it was just so sweaty. I played against Martial, second player of the month, Heung-min Son, and Sadio Mane in just about every second game, and it was just mind-numbing. It was just so sweaty. I felt like there was just those games where you just play and you feel like something else is just affecting the gameplay, like you just can't do anything. I played this one game where I felt like we were almost both getting handicapped, as weird as that sounds. I know that doesn't make any sense, but him and I were both like sort of trying, but the game just wasn't, nobody was going to score a goal, and we ended up going to a shootout at 0-0. We were just both missing like really obvious chances, and it was just one of those games where you're just going through the motion, and really stupid things were happening, and it was just really such a sweaty game. And then I had to, in the Wednesday when that came around and the requirements changed, I went to my fully jacked up team and I won it on my second try. So the first try I went to the final, ended up, guy scored in like the 120th minute with this ridiculous long shot from like Renato Sanchez, like just 120th minute aids, and then he beat me in a shootout. And then in the second go around I just went right through, but it was such a struggle. The point being that like it was so hard to win that thing. So if you are an average to below average FIFA player, I don't know if that Sigurdsson card is worth the amount of brain cells that you're going to lose in order to try and win it. Like, it is cool to have a card that you've won, but do yourself a favor and just hold off. Honestly, the Weekend League at this point, to get some coins and a couple packs isn't necessarily worth it. It's just such a grind, and like, you guys know my feeling on the Weekend League. 40 games is a lot of games, and I don't necessarily recommend it. I just think that, especially if you're playing FIFA to have fun, Weekend League is not where you're going to do it. Weekend League is a hyper-competitive game mode, and hey, if you want to play that, play it. If you want to test yourself, do it, but for me, I don't enjoy, I'd rather play seasons, because I find that you fall into categories where you're playing guys that you actually match up well against, and you kind of find your place, and you're playing against just competitive games with guys that are at the same level as you. So I do hope that they change the reward system in it, but at the same time, that Weekend League is just so sweaty and just so stressful, and it's not necessarily very fun. Everyone that I've talked to, no one seems to really enjoy it. They're just doing it because they feel they have to do it. So, if you want to do it, but it's a buyer beware situation for me. So as we head back into the gameplay here, this is our third game. As you guys saw with this guy's team, very poorly put together team, but he was surprisingly good considering. I don't want to say good because he was like an average player. He didn't generate too much, but considering the team that he had, he was generating some offense. We do end up going up 2-0 against this guy. Romelu Lukaku with a nice little finish with his right foot, and we were able to kind of walk around some of his players. We weren't able to get too many great opportunities here, but 2-0 against this guy was a decent result. We'll take it. Like, I was surprised because I was expecting to just stomp him when I saw his team, but if you made it to Division 9 with that team, you either went the full 10 games to do it, or you might just be a really good FIFA player. And in this case, I give this guy a lot of credit for getting as far as he did with basically one of the worst put-together teams that I've seen so far yet. So after 3 games, we do have our 2 wins. All we need is 1 draw in our final game, and we will clinch that Division 9 title. So the Division 9 title, very elusive, but we need those coins really bad because the coins have just been so important for us. We haven't been able to muster too many coins from doing other things, from too many pack stuff. So getting going is the hardest part for a lot of guys. Once you've got like a bit of a team that you can use, it seems to be a little bit easier. You're a little bit more comfortable, and upgrading is a lot easier. But right now, well, I'll take anything I can get. So we did sell that one other EPL silver player. It got us 700 coins, and we used that to get Andre Gray. So Andre Gray is just going to be a rotational striker for us. We've got Iheanacho, we've got Berahino, and now we've got Andre Gray. Andre Gray had his inform card before, and his inform card is so good. He's so strong and so fast, and I know this isn't the inform card, but it is a card that if you are looking for kind of a cheap EPL beast, definitely worth somebody to look at. So I did go in and pick up a bronze pack here. The bronze pack was below average. What I wanted to get out of it was a fitness card, and of course, knowing my luck, we didn't get a fitness card. So with bronze pack method, you guys have probably heard of that. It's a pretty popular method. The packs are essentially the 400, one shiny bronze player. What you're hoping to get out of that is either a shiny fitness team fitness card, which you can probably sell for about 1,000 coins, and it will double your profit, or at least a couple, one if not 2 bronze players that you can sell. The 45 rated or even 46 rated players are definitely guys to look at, flipping if they do come up in your pack. But the bronze pack method, you do need to open multiple packs before you find some profit in it. So we do need the one result from this game, and this is the team I come up against. EPR French top diamond there. You've got the PSG bottom right corner and the Juventus bottom left corner with Buffon, Chiellini, Alexandro. Maybe the worst possible team to come up against, but all we need is a draw out of this game. And I'm going to spoil it a little bit. This guy was very, very solid defensively, but it was more so his team. His team, I just didn't have the quality of players to break it down, and it does finish scoreless, so I apologize for ruining the result here, but I just wanted you guys to kind of see, even when we were able to create some opportunities, these players were just so good that they were closing down the space. So if I was able to wiggle through and create a little bit of room for myself, we would just close it down so quickly, and I just wasn't able to muster too many chances. My guys, when they were creating chances, they weren't quality ones. They were kind of scuffing shots and stuff like this. They were just kind of shots out of, half chances, I guess. But, that will give us the 1 point that we do need. So he didn't generate too much offense. He was a solid player. He did cause problems. But, as you can see from the highlights, I try to keep in any scoring opportunities, and he didn't really have any. He had a couple corners, but nothing that even tested my keeper. As we head into the second half here, he's still just kind of on the back foot. He was just kind of holding on for dear life, I guess, to make sure that I didn't score. But, his players were, causing me enough problems that I wasn't able to actually get any clear opportunities through. And it ended up just being a boring game. But all we needed was the point, so I don't really care that much. It sucks a little bit for the record, but at the same time, a 0-0 result against that team with the quality that I have, I'll take it. It's not necessarily something that I want to happen too much. I do want to be able to beat teams like this, even with an average team, because that's what you're going to need to do, especially at later stages. But right now, considering my team's so average, we'll take it. So, as we head into the end of the game there, you guys do see the result as I ruin it for 0-0. We're going to get 3,400 coins from that. 3,400 coins, what I want to do with that is go and get a striker, and I want to go and get a center back. If I can go and get those two things, I think that's going to add a lot to our rotation, and I really just want to get a full second team that I can have sit on the bench and just basically be able to have two full teams, like a regular team and a fitness team. I don't ever recommend using fitness cards unless you really have to early on in the game, like even the 200 coin ones that are just one single player fitness, those do sell eventually. But right now, I'm never ever recommending using fitness cards. They're too valuable, and I just think put them up on the market because you might as well just go out and get a fitness team and then just never use fitness cards. I hope they get rid of fitness in general, but that's neither here nor there. So I do go out and pick up Joel Matip. As you guys will see, there's kind of some inconsistencies with the coins, and the reason for that is because I accidentally bought the 82 rated Matip. I had to sell him, which I didn't manage to do until later in the episode, but I had brought that clip back so you guys could see that I didn't make that mistake. I bought the 82 Matip and then instantly put him up because I wanted the 83, so I bought the 83. He's a very solid player. Anyone that I've ever used that I've come up against caused me a lot of problems. And I also picked up Alberto Moreno. You know, the left back and the right back are kind of guys that you do need high pace with, but I will sacrifice some pace for well-rounded defensive and physical stats. So Alberto Moreno's a guy that kind of goes against a little bit of my belief because I don't want just spam in the back, but every time that I've used him in the past, I used him at the start of FIFA with my paid account, and he was very solid. I think he's a very underrated guy. People don't necessarily rate him, and they don't like him because they find him too small, but it doesn't really matter that much for like the wingbacks. Wingbacks are just guys that, like, when the ball gets lobbed over top, you need a guy that can compensate, and get back and actually defend it. So I'm very excited to get him because he was pretty cheap, and he's a guy that, like I said, is very underutilized. People don't really rate him, so you can get him for quite cheap. With the bronze pack here, I decided to go in and again try to get a fitness card, and again, my luck, didn't get a fitness card. I get the one shiny is like a kit from, I believe, the Australian League, and that is just very fitting. None of these guys sold, so we're going to dump them in the club and just keep them in the club for rinsing, and which I'm going to do right here. So because I'm trying to open a couple bronze packs and see if I can generate a few more coins, I'm not massive on the bronze pack method because it does take a lot of time to do, but you can go out and rinse these cards, so there is some benefit to it. The downside to the bronze pack method, if you're rinsing through the silver and gold upgrades, is you only get a 2-player silver pack. So there are a lot of junk silvers. I don't really rate a lot of silvers. There's very few that are actually usable. The Emre Moores of the world, even Timothy Fosu-Mensah. Those are the few guys that I actually would consider even using, but I would still need requirements that force you to use a silver. So many silvers. They're not like in the past where silvers were actually like for silvers and Calcio A silver teams and stuff like that. A lot of these guys really don't have very good stats that reflect well in the game, and they're just not very good in terms of stamina, physical traits. Their finishing's low. And as you see there, we didn't get very good players. I also had 210 coins left after that, and I went out and changed my badge because that Atlanta badge, with all due respect to the Atlanta United FC, I was tired of seeing that, so I went out and got the New York City FC. I used DC United on my other account because I loved DC United early on with their earlier teams when MLS first became a team, but their badges, there's only 3 of them on the market, and I wasn't going to overpay for a DC United badge, so I used the 200 coins to just go get New York FC, and I went to go watch a game last year at Yankee Stadium, and I liked the team, I liked the badge, I loved David Villa, so thought that made sense to go get him. Also, another thing to keep in mind is to go out and get the things that are sitting in your catalog. So as you guys can see, I started fresh, so this account had no coins on it, but I went out and got this 99 contract, and I went out and got a 5-game 200 coin boost, which was it's going to be very important in terms of getting additional coins very early on. But that 99 contract, that's a really important one too, because those still sell for, I think, between 1,000 and 1,500. people are still on the lookout for these 99 contracts, and you can flip that thing for some pretty decent coins. So a good way to make money for essentially nothing from just playing the game. Also, by doing that, I claimed a reward, so it's going to give me a lone player pack, and this lone player pack gave me Timo Werner. Timo Werner is a guy that I've used in the past, just in scrub teams, and he's a very good card. I've not heard the best things about his team of the season or some of his informs, but in terms of being a very overpowered non-inform, definitely recommend. I can't unfortunately sell any of these cards for anything, so they're just going to sit in the club. But, you know, Timo Werner, there's a lot worse players to get on loan, so I was quite happy with that. And by completing that, I completed all of the manager tasks and got myself another premium gold pack. All of these are just stockpiling, so they're fantastic to have. It gives me a little bit of breathing room. Unfortunately, I didn't pick up anybody of note. I picked up Frey, who's a championship player from Turkey, so that's not really going to help us that much, and a couple other players. Andrioli from Inter, and then I picked up this guy from Feyenoord, and then a Club Brugge player. But this is actually the most important player in that whole thing is Aitor Karanka. It gave us a BPL coach that I didn't want to spend money on, and it gave us some contracts, a squad fitness, which unfortunately we can't sell, and a couple kits that I'm never going to use, and a player formation change. So gave us a little bit of breathing room, but this also gave us this coach, which, you know, finally, coincidentally, that's going to make us a 100 chemistry team and give us that full goal team that we were hoping to accomplish by the end of the video. So as we wind down the video here, I just wanted to, again, thank you guys for watching, being patient with the uploads. I know they're not coming as frequently as you want, but I do have some in the can, and I am going to try to get as multiple uploads going this week. So if you have any comments, please leave them down below. I would love to hear you guys' feedback, and definitely I'll answer any questions you guys have, as well as give you guys a shout out on the video. So if you do have any questions, just put them in the comments section below, and I'll add them in there. I'll add them in the next video. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you guys, again, taking the time to watch the video, and I'll see you for episode 6. Peace.